Hello again, welcome to another video from Lockdown Electronics with me, Bill. And this time we've got a bit of a retrospective restoration. Retrospective in the sense that what I'm going to look at actually comes from a time before Lockdown Electronics existed. I started making videos in July 2020 and I actually got hold of this signal generator in April. Now I don't have any pictures of when I actually got it off eBay. It's about £35, and when it arrived it was very grubby on the outside indeed, but as you'll see on the inside she was pretty good. So I've restored it, and actually it's a useful bit of kit. I've used it quite a bit during restorations, and you see these on so many people's benches. The number of YouTube channels I watch, and there's one of these or a version of this by another name sitting there, that they are clearly rated and very popular. And a bit of research, I've discovered that you can buy these. This is the one is labelled as the Rapid Electronics 85-1200, but you can also get the Dick Smith SG4106B, Lodestar do the same thing, Sun do the same thing, Tenma, Elenco, Maplin and Altai all make these. Now I reckon this is 1970s. If you do a bit of trawling around the internet you can come across ones that look incredibly like this, but they have a slightly posher plastic surround, and I think that's probably early 80s, so I'm guessing this is a 1970s bit of kit, made in Taiwan, and actually nicely made, and it's had a lot of use here. So let's have a look what she can do, and I'm only sorry I haven't got some pictures of what she was like when she arrived, but apart from being very grubby, actually she worked. Okay, to start off then, here's the signal generator mentioned, classic 1970s nice solid design, all metal case, which is very useful from a RF point of view. And when it arrived, I don't have any video of that because I wasn't, as I mentioned in the intro, I wasn't doing videos then. She was really grubby and cleaned up fairly easily. The grime was just accumulated dust. I guess it had been used in maybe a slightly grubby environment, and it had clearly been stored for a number of years because that dirt had sort of dried on it. What you probably can't see terribly well on the camera is the paint did clean up, but there are some rust spots. There's probably the worst ones there. The way to solve that would be strip the case and respray it, but I want to use it. I'm not fussed about looking at the case. In fact the back's in very nice condition, so I guess it's just where there's perhaps a bit of moisture has gathered when it's been stored. But yeah, very grubby, a little bit of yellowing on the knobs, but I'm not going to be going to the length of retro biting them or anything like that, as it actually works rather nicely. And I think that's the thing about this instrument. You see these on lots of people's benches, in the background, sitting up there on a bench, and I think they're just such a handy bit of kit. They're very easy to use. It's really handy to be able to just flick that switch and get a modulated signal straight away. Now I've got a very nice digital function generator which will also do that, but it's about 4 or 5 button presses to achieve what one click of the switch does there. So when you've got your head inside looking at some kind of radio alignment or restoration, that's just so handy to have such an easy to use piece of kit, and got a nice easy to use attenuation setup on the front here. So a nice straightforward piece of kit. Okay, here we are with the back removed, and this of course is a product of the days when leaving loads of room in the case wasn't considered an absolute crime. There's plenty of room in there. If you wanted to do some modifications you could probably fit another complete signal generator in there without too much trouble. So made in Taiwan, back in the 1970s, I would imagine, and construction seems pretty good really. So essentially what we've got here, we've got 3 circuit boards. The main board is here, we've got another daughter board here and another board here, and then you've got the cluster of coils around the rotary switch for the different bands, different frequency bands. So quick description of how it all works. This board has the power supply and the audio, and audio as in the modulation oscillator circuitry, 2 transistors here, and 1 transistor's oscillating, the other one effectively acts as a buffer and drives the system to modulate the RF. So what we've got is centre tapped main transformer, about 19 volts either side of the centre tap. Centre tap's earthed. Couple of diodes here providing full wave rectification. Couple of resistors and 2 electrolytic capacitors here providing the filtering, and then the voltage regulation done by a Zener diode and a few associated bits of circuitry there. We've got the 2 transistors involved with the low frequency side of the oscillation, and that's the main daughter board. That's the mains fuse. Okay, here underneath, can't see it terribly well, but this little daughter board here is the RF oscillator. So if I can position it so you can see things, there's here we've got the FET, and then we've got the transistor that looks pretty much like it's a sort of a buffer amplifier, so that oscillator doesn't get pulled when the output is changing. And this daughter board here contains the switches for the various items, and it also contains the attenuation circuitry. There's a potentiometer and a switch here to give you various levels of attenuation for the signal, and then rotary switch which operates the various frequency bands. So dual ganged capacitor here, and it's got a reduction drive on the knob, so that it's quite easy to adjust it reasonably accurately, and we'll talk a little bit more about the accuracy later on. Okay, so quick glance at the circuit diagram, nothing very exciting. The FET oscillator, an N-channel FET with the ferrocapacitor and the coils, looks pretty much like it's a Colpitts oscillator to me from the way it's drawn up. I think there's 1 or 2 bits of this circuit diagram are actually missing, and certainly an interesting way to spell circuit as well. You've got the buffer amplifier here which feeds the attenuation, which consists of that attenuation high-low switch and this potentiometer here. Here we've got the other switch to do with the internal or external modulation. It's possible to feed in a modulated signal here. Again, we'll talk about that when we look around the front panel. And the input to there gets fed into this transistor circuitry and is modulated with the RF signal. It's also possible to use a crystal in the socket on the front. The only crystal I've got that fits that doesn't appear to make any difference, but it's quite an old crystal and I'm not entirely convinced it's still serviceable, so I've not really had the opportunity to check that. So relatively straightforward circuitry. When it came to refurbishing it, there wasn't very much to do really. It actually did work straight away. I replaced 2 electrolytic capacitors here, the 2 smoothing capacitors, and also this one here, and the 4th one, which is I guess some more smoothing down here on the RF daughter board. And apart from giving the switches a good clean, actually it was in pretty good order internally, so no real complaints about that. And nice and solidly built actually. Mechanically it's pretty robust and well put together. Screen lead comes off the RF and goes around here, so that we're keeping noise to a minimum. We'll have a look at the signals in a moment. Onto the front panel then. So the most obvious feature here is the dial. This knob is geared down slightly, so it's actually possible to move the needle quite accurately. Calibration is a very interesting thing. Obviously you've got one capacitor, it's covering all these bands, so we're not talking about a digital signal source here. So when I refurbished it, I had this front panel off, and just here on the I think it's band 2, yeah, on the band 2, which is 300 to 1000 kilohertz, there's a little arrow there at about 455, which of course is the classic IF frequency for a lot of radios, and I wanted to use this for radio alignment. So I got the signal generator to produce, let it warm up, got it to produce a signal at 455 kilohertz as best as I could measure with my frequency counter, and then I simply moved the pointer and tightened it up. So if I move it over that little arrow at 455, it's within 2 or 3 kilohertz, and if I need it exact, I can obviously put a frequency counter on. On the other bands, yeah, it's a little bit out depending where you go, but for the most part it's actually very good. And if you're trying to set up a receiver or a radio and you're not sure where you tune to, actually it's quite handy to be able to tune around until you find the frequency. And you've got these bands here. We'll have a look at the output on the scope in a minute, but you've got the 4 bands there, sorry, 6 bands there. Here we've got obviously power on off, it's a mains switch. This switch here switches between the internal oscillator in the middle, an external oscillator which you would feed in through these 2 banana sockets here. Now you can do that, needs about 10 volts peak to peak to start producing the kind of level of modulation that you get with the internal oscillator. Now the internal oscillator runs on here at about 950 hertz, so actually it's ideal, that just under 1 kilohertz modulation signal, and switching it to either crystal or external just turns off the modulator and allows you to just have the pure signal. Switch to crystal, you've got this, as I mentioned before, this crystal socket here. I've not managed to make much sense of that, but it's there should you need it. And then we've got, that's the high level output, that's low level output, and then you've got an adjustable attenuator here, and you can turn that right down till the signal pretty much vanishes. So if you're setting up the sensitivity on a radio, that's quite handy, because you can keep backing off the signal level until you get to the point where you can't adjust it any more accurately. So there's the front panel. Okay, so I've got the signal generator hooked up to my oscilloscope, and let's have a look at the output that we're getting. Before we get going properly on that, these 2 banana sockets here give you access to the internal modulation oscillator, which runs actually on mine at about 950 hertz. So when you've got that set to internal modulator here, you have actually got audio frequency of 950 hertz available there. This is ostensibly an RF signal generator. The lowest it goes to is just below 100 kilohertz. So okay, so I've got it on range 1, and I've just got it sort of just set there for no particular reason. It's about 145 kilohertz, and you can see the waveform there on the scope, getting about 2.72 peak to peak. So as we click up through the ranges, the first couple of ranges, as you can see, don't really get very much reduction in signal strength. Still 2.3 volts peak to peak. Once we get beyond range C onto D, you start to get quite a reduction in signal output, and as we get much higher it gets down to about 460 millivolts, which is quite considerably less, although from a radio alignment point of view it's not actually that bad. 460 millivolts is plenty of signal for doing a radio alignment with. So I'll go back to range A and just get the time base back so it looks like a usable signal, and let's just have a look at that signal viewed in frequency domain, and we'll just get the fundamental somewhere near the middle of the screen for you. Okay, so there's the fundamental, and as you can see there are harmonics. So we'll now, what we'll do is just drop a couple of cursors onto there. Just tell it to use math as the cursor, and we're going to use magnitude. So I'm going to position that top cursor just at the top of the fundamental there, and then we'll bring the bottom cursor up to the height of that second harmonic just there, and the difference is about just over 30 decibels. So the second harmonic's 30 dB down, so that's quite reasonable really, not too bad at all. While we've got on there, I'm going to just now turn on the internal modulation, and that's your internally modulated signal, just under a kilohertz, and as you can see we're getting a reasonable approximation of a AM signal there with its side bands, but still reasonably narrow really, and obviously ideal from a radio alignment point of view. And if we now drop back out of frequency domain into time domain and just ask the scope to find that for me in the easy way, that wobbly signal is the modulation. So if we now just alter the time base, you can actually see the modulation envelope pretty reasonably there. And if I just pause the display for you, so there's your modulation envelope seen in voltage domain as well as in frequency domain. Okay, and finally I just want to show you the output of the generator on the spectrum analyzer. Once you get to the very last scale F, which theoretically goes from 32 to 150 megahertz, there is a scale described on the outside that goes from 100 up to about 450 megahertz. There isn't actually a range for that, but you essentially work off the harmonics, and I just wanted to show you here. So I've got the generator set to about 100 megahertz roughly. There's the fundamental, and the third harmonic here actually is, according to that, at about 305 megahertz. So that probably would be usable, although the signal's obviously quite a bit down compared to the fundamental. So she does certainly generate signals well up into the VHF range. Okay, well that's it for a look at the Rapid Electronics 85-1200 signal generator. So I hope you found that useful. It's the kind of thing that if you can find one, there isn't really very much to go wrong with them, and even if you get a non-worker it would not be difficult to troubleshoot it. So I would perhaps encourage you to do that if you're fancying a signal generator, particularly if you're into radio restorations. Thanks very much for watching. If you've liked the video, please click the thumbs up. If not, you can click the thumbs down. Either way, it'd be absolutely great if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.